And Janet McFetridge and Wendy Ayad join us now, along with Joe Alamiano from Plattsburgh Cares. Welcome. We appreciate you all being here with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Janet, how many months have you and Wendy been greeting asylum seekers at the border?
3 months, about 3 months. Yeah, I've been doing it longer than that, but we got together in the fall when I found out there was a group in Hemingford that was working on similar things.
And Wendy, you saw this happening for several months, and did neighbors that live right there in Hemingford and on Roxham Road get together and say, we want to do something about this, or we want to help if we can?
The group, which we call Bridges Not Borders, sort of developed organically since about last March. There was a town hall meeting in Hemingford that a lot of people went to find out what was happening with people crossing over. Then some of us got involved with a United Church project that was feeding breakfast to refugees being held at La Colle border on the weekends. And the Bridges Not Borders sort of evolved in that way.
We just saw the piece by our producer, Michael Hansen. Oftentimes, the immigrants arriving at the border seem overwhelmed with what's happening, which is certainly understandable. Do you find that a number of them just are so focused on what they're doing that they're really not paying attention to what you're doing?
It really is a mixed reaction. There certainly are many that climb out of those taxis and they look terrified and they don't want to interact with anyone. Who am I that they would trust me? There are others that climb out and are just grateful for getting a hat or a scarf or something like that. So it's really a mixed reaction. Some of them seem informed about what happens next. Some of them have no idea of what's going to happen.
And can you help them in that case, giving them information that can help them?
Well, I can't give them any legal information because I'm not qualified, and that would not be the right thing to do.
Right.
I usually tell them that they will be arrested because that's something that they need to know, and most of them do seem to know that.
And there is a sign as well that has been put up on the Canadian side explaining to people that they will be arrested. But as Janet says, I think people, once they arrive there, they're so stressed and nervous and in many cases very frightened. They're not actually going to be taking in and reading signs. They just want to go there and get it over with, essentially, go across.
So in that case, you're there just to offer them hats, mittens, socks, scarves.
A friendly presence, encouragement. I always, just, give words of reassurance, like it's going to be okay, it's okay, just go ahead and do it, But as Janet says, we're not giving legal advice. It's not the time or the place to do that. And certainly on our side, we are looking at how to transmit more useful information to people before they get to Roxham Road.
And Joe Ellen, is that part of the plan for Plattsburgh Cares? I know when you folks joined us a few weeks ago, that was on the list of what you were hoping at some point to do, have people greeting them at the bus station or at the airport and maybe giving them a simple pamphlet that just lays out what they should know, the information they should have before they enter into Canada.
Yes, we've made a lot of progress with that. We've vetted a two-sided flyer with a lot of information, vetted it with lawyers in New York and a lot of immigration specialists to make sure the information was correct, and always saying this is not legal advice. That was always a big disclaimer at the bottom. But yes, our goal is to get printed material at the airport. We're still working on that at the airport, at how we can get it into perhaps motels in the area. There's the bus station currently where it is now, whether we can have things placed in places like that. So brochures, flyers, perhaps even a trifold. We're still working on the actual pieces, but we have the initial flyer already designed, and we're starting to distribute that.
Is there any hope that maybe the taxi cabs would carry them in the cabs?
And the taxi cabs, of course. Some of them already have some of them in their hands. So it's a tricky thing, because even by the time someone has arrived in Plattsburgh, as you were saying, we're at the end of this long journey for them. So we're just at the very end when they arrive, and it's just like, oh, I only have 2 more things to do and I've completed my plan. So we hope that even just arriving in Plattsburgh and having some kind of print material they may have the time to sit quietly and absorb it, but we don't know. So we're also exploring how can we get this material distributed elsewhere, further away from us, as before people are here and really just stepping out of the taxi and crossing. The piece that we have designed right now is a flip side. So on the one side, if you cross at the regular port of entry, this is what we know will happen. These are things that you may need to think about. Here's who you can contact, including Plattsburgh. Prior to doing that, Plattsburgh Cares. And on the flip side, should you decide to cross at an irregular crossing like Roxham Road, these are the things that you need to know. And the important thing is that we have our contact information on there. Should someone need to reach out, they know how to get in touch with someone who could listen to them and perhaps find out what their needs are.
Because of the, say, third country agreement, if they go to an official border crossing, they almost certainly will be returned to the United States.
Yes, that's correct, unless they meet one of the 4 exceptions to the agreement. And the crucial one is whether they have a family member in Canada. If they can show that and prove that, then they could be allowed into Canada to claim asylum. But if they don't meet any of the 4 exceptions, and I believe the majority of people do not, they will be returned to the United States, and that's something we're extremely concerned about, because Bridges Not Borders would like to see the Safe Third Country at the agreement suspended, because we don't believe that the United States is a safe country for asylum seekers.
You've reached out to members of Parliament in Canada with your concerns and asking them to do that. What's been the response?
Well, so far we've approached 2 of our local MPs, so that's our first step that we're taking, bearing in mind we haven't been around very long. So we've met with one local MP who's a member of one of the opposition parties, and we'll be meeting another MP in the next few days who's a member of the government party. Looking
at the numbers, I think 17,000 from January through November. There was the spike in July and August, and then it's dropped off into the fall and now into the winter months. But with what's happening here in the U.S. now and the announcements about the temporary protected status for thousands more, is there a feeling that we're going to see an increase in the number of migrants who are crossing the border again?
I think there's always a possibility. I mean, I would assume that amongst the, 200,000 El Salvadorians whose temporary protected status is going to be removed, there's going to be many of them who are actually going to be in need of what we call international protection, i.e. to make an asylum claim. And we certainly feel that very strongly those people should be allowed to cross into Canada to make such a claim. Because they're coming from a country that is one of the most dangerous countries in the world. The levels of violence against women in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico is the highest in Latin America. Also, LGBT people are also particularly at risk. So we assume that amongst those people currently covered by the temporary protected status, there will be people who really do need to claim asylum and will not be able to do so in the United States.
With so many thousands coming, is it taxing Canada's system and ability to handle all of these migrants coming in?
Well, it certainly added, of course, additional numbers to what Canada has been previously receiving. But the immigration minister, the government, continues to say that Canada is well able to cope with the people who have been claiming asylum in Canada.
Some of the folks you meet in just within those few minutes, are you able to stay in touch with them or make contact with them, and are you able to find out what happens to them once they cross the border?
There are some. I become friends with them on Facebook, and so then they can message me. And so they tell me some of the stories, and they also tell me what the process is, which has been helpful. And I was able to go to Montreal and go out to lunch with one woman. And it was very interesting. I mean, she just was so happy that she was in a safe place, because she didn't feel safe in the United States. And there's pretty high security at the shelters. So I was able to give her a bag of hats that then she was going to distribute to the people that were in the shelter. But that part is rewarding, to know that it's only one person, and I'm only one person, but we're making a difference in someone's life. And I think, you know, that should make us all happy, that we're able to make somewhat of a difference and show that there are plenty of compassionate people in the United States who care about these people who are stuck in this difficult situation.
Are they frustrated with the delays getting hearings and waiting for the process to play out?
The ones that I am in touch with they're doing okay. It's difficult. They're homesick. One woman in particular is extremely homesick. She left a son in the United States. But they're doing okay. They're in the process, and they feel like they have a future in Canada.